Hi guys, thank you for attending my session today. My name is Florence Njeri. I am a software engineer by profession and I live in Kenya. I am a GSOD intern here at AsyncAPI where I have been documenting the generator tool for the past 6 months. I will talk about how contributing to GSOD has inspired a career in open source, as well as contrast my experience working in corporate for the past 1.5 years to my experience working in open source for the past 6 months. My journey as a software engineer began in 2016, where I joined university to pursue a degree in software engineering. Part of my degree requirements was to fulfill a mandatory 3 month internship where I started interning in 2019 at a local software company called MobiDev as an Android intern. While there, I faced a challenge one day and I went to my mentor and told him I could not find a solution for the problem I was encountering, and he helped me resolve it. But the next day, I faced the same problem and I could not remember the exact steps that my mentor had taken to resolve the problem. So I went back to him, approached him, and told him, I'm sorry, but I forgot the exact steps that you took yesterday. Can you please explain it again? So that is when he told me, as a software engineer, whenever you Google for a solution to a problem you're facing online and you don't find a solution for it, the best approach to take is to create a blog where you write solutions to the problems that you're facing, because it will help you in the future when you encounter the same problem, and it will also help another developer that is facing the same problem to be able to resolve their problem. That is how I started writing documentation, just as a way of documenting all the problems that I solved that I could not find a solution for online, or problems that had taken me a really long time, so that I could go back and reference to it whenever I got a problem. In 2019, I got started in open source, where I contributed for 1 month to Hacktoberfest, and I got a really cool t-shirt. That was the first contribution that I made to open source that I'm still very proud of to date. Contributing to Hacktoberfest had a few impacts to my career, including knowing how to open a pull request, which I had not done before, how to resolve issues, how to communicate to the mentor of the project, and how to follow up and make sure that each and every issue that has been found in your pull request has been resolved. In this next session, I will be talking about my career in open source and what I have discovered while working at AsyncAPI that has made me get inspired to work in open source full time in the future. The first thing that I discovered when I joined AsyncAPI is that there are people who get paid full time to work to contribute to open source, to maintain software, to write technical documentation. I had no idea that there are people who do this full time. I thought that this is something people did part time after their 9 to 5. So that was a very interesting discovery that I made this year. Another thing is career progression. I realized that you can progress your career very fast while working in open source, mostly because you're building in the public. Your work is out there in the open. While it can be scary, it's a very good thing because you get recognized, you get to work with industry leaders, you get to reach multiple developers, multiple audiences. Your work is seen by big organizations. And from that, they can reach out to you to hire you. And also, you gain credibility about your skills. Whenever you are trying to switch jobs, you can always say, I contributed to this open source tool. This is my work. This is what I did. Another thing I have learned while working in open source is the collaboration and communication style that is used in open source companies or rather open source projects, which is really nice, which is really fast, and also the ability to take full ownership of the feature that you're building or the contribution that you're making, because you don't have someone that constantly asks you for updates. You have to take the initiative to make sure that you have completed a certain task. You have been able to reach out to mentors. I have been reaching out to my mentor whenever I get stuck. I have been communicating to my fellow intern Pratik whenever I need his help. So it has really helped build my collaboration, my communication skills, and also it has made me love the working style and the communication style that is there in open source, as well as the collaboration style. The last and the most significant thing is learning about the impact of my work. I realized the work that I have put in for the past 6 months will be used by multiple developers from all over the world who need help getting started with the generator tool. And that fills me with a lot of pride, with a lot of happiness. And I think this is literally the coolest thing I have done in my career for the past 2 years. Generally, this is what has really made me proud and really made me want to continue working in open source and to keep contributing and building a career in open source. So, this next session, I am going to talk about how my experience working in corporate is contrasted to my experience working as an open source contributor. The first thing is onboarding. In the companies that I have worked at before, the general onboarding time is 1 to 2 weeks, where I am expected to learn a few things about the project, to set up my developer machine, to learn the working style of the people, to learn how to work with my colleagues. My onboarding experience working in corporate has been between 1 and 2 weeks, but mostly the first 3 days. I feel like that is when you get support from your mentors. They're there hand holding you, helping you set up your developer environment, helping you learn about the company, explaining what your day-to-day tasks will look like, and assigning you the first few tasks that you will be required to do in order to get onboarded onto the project. And within the first month, you are expected to have a few, like 1 or 2 PRs that are up and merged. And compared to open source, so while working here, at the first month was onboarding, the first whole month where we were not expected to make a contribution. We were learning about the tool. My onboarding experience, however, at Async API was very different, because for the first month, I did not feel the pressure or the expectation to have my pull request up or to have a pull request or something merged, because it was mostly getting onboarded, learning about the generator tool, learning about Async API, learning what it does, because it was a very new experience. I had not worked with asynchronous APIs before, so it was mostly learning what to do, what is done, what expected to document and to do, getting to know my other colleagues who I'll be working with. And I did not feel any pressure whatsoever. And it was actually a very awesome experience. My onboarding experience, however, at Async API was very small and very easygoing in nature, in the sense that for the first month, I personally did not feel the pressure to get started writing documentation for the generator tool, where we were mostly learning and had a lot of meetings and a lot of sessions with our mentors where we got onboarded onto the project. I got to learn about AsyncAPI, the technical aspects of it, what it does, and what is expected to be documented. It was very easygoing in nature, which was awesome. Another thing I discovered that is different between working in corporate and working is in open source is the collaboration style, or rather the work environment, where in corporate it's very synchronous. Despite it being remote, you're still required to work within the same time frame with all your other teammates, where you get to collaborate and talk to each other in real time, which compared to my experience working in Async API, which has been very, very asynchronous, and you get to work at whatever hours that you want. Sometimes I was putting up pull requests at close to midnight. I was getting on Slack, talking to my mentor Lucas, talking to Pratik, who is my colleague who I'm working with to document the generator tool. So it's been very asynchronous driven. We don't have to work at the same time. And what matters is you get your work done. It doesn't matter the time that you log in and start making your contribution. So that is very different from the experience working in the corporate world. Another thing about working in corporate is the impact. Most of the time, I don't really realize the impact that I am having because I don't get to interact with the end users on a day-to-day basis. So I don't know how impactful my work is. However, documenting the generator tool has made me realize how much impact my technical documentation is going to make, because Async API is is the official specification guide that is used by most of the asynchronous APIs to define their specifications. So I know that my work will be read, or rather, my articles will be read by developers from all corners of the world and in all kinds of institutions, from big institutions to small institutions. I feel like the impact of the work that I have put in for the past 6 months supersedes the impact of the contributions I have made for even the past 1.5 years. So yeah, that has been a really awesome experience. Something else about working in corporate is, unless you are a very social person, or unless you are someone that really pushes yourself to talk about what you work on at your day-to-day job, which sometimes you can't even talk about because of contractual agreements. You can't really talk about what you're working on. So nobody really knows what has Florence been doing. What is she working on? I feel that unless you are someone that can go on LinkedIn or go on Twitter and talk about what you did that particular day, apart from your teammates and maybe the project manager, nobody really knows about your capabilities, about your skills and experiences, unless you actively push yourself to broadcast your experiences and your work out in the public platforms. However, working at Async API, we regularly get tagged whenever a new feature gets released, and you're the one that has contributed to that. You get tagged on Twitter, you get tagged on LinkedIn. So regardless of what you do, whether small or big, whether you are shy about broadcasting your work will be out there. Everybody will know this feature has been developed by Florence. This feature is solving XYZ. And I feel that the impact it has on the career is very high, because recruiters can instantly start reaching out to you because they have seen that you're contributing to this open source tool and they love your work. And yeah, you're visible on a global map because multiple people will be following an open source tool or an open source company like AsyncAPI. So definitely the reach and the impact of your work is global. Something else that I have found very different working in corporate versus working here at AsyncAPI is the collaboration and the communication style. Because in corporate, whenever you have work up, you just tag your teammates, you tag them, and you maybe put in this official Slack dev channel, please guys, review my PR. However, in open source, since open source, there are so many contributors, your mentors will get so many pings in their email about a new contribution, and they can actually get so overwhelmed with work that they don't really see your email. You have to be proactive about your work. You have to reach out to your mentors and to the maintainers of the project and tell them, hey, please review my PR. It's up, it's ready. This is what I have done. Maybe you can help with XYZ. And also, the collaboration style is very different because, as compared to corporate, where you work within the same time zone, so you can ping your colleague on Slack and get a reply immediately. You can hop on a quick Zoom call and resolve a problem. In open source, this is completely different because you don't work in the same time zone. Because when Alejandra starts working, it's like 6 p.m. for me, and I might not actually be online. It's very asynchronous. So if I have a problem, I just ping her, but I do not expect an instant reply. Or even my teammate Pratik, who is like 3 hours ahead. It has definitely been a very different experience, and learning how to work, collaborate, and communicate with people in multiple time zones in an asynchronous way. While working in corporate, you do get mentorship and support, but not in the extent that you do while working in open source. Because everybody has their own designated tasks, and while the mentorship and support that you get is more of helping unblock you whenever you are stuck, but also the developers can have a lot of work. So working in corporate, the mentorship and support is there, but the mentorship and support that I have received while working in corporate is really different from the mentorship and support that I have received while working at Async API. So the major difference is you don't get the constant support in corporate unless you actively ask for it. So sometimes you don't get a dedicated mentor to help handhold you for the first few months as you're transitioning, as you're learning about the software, as you're learning about the tool. So that can be really hard progression or hard to adjust to as you are as an early career person. And also the support is not as immense as the one I have received while working at Async API. The mentorship that I have received has been very active, where we have a set one hour session each and every week to get unblocked. And apart from that, we can always reach out to our mentors during the week on Slack and ask them any questions, and they will get back to you. And if you need more support, you can always schedule for a support session via video call. That has been another thing that I have experienced that contrasts slightly to working in corporate. In corporate, we always have deadlines where you have a Jira task that has a specified weight. So you are expected to complete a certain feature within 1 day or within 2 days or within 3 days. So you have active deadlines to complete a certain task or a certain number of tasks within a given time frame. So in open source here at AsyncAPI, we don't have deadlines. It's more of an ownership, more of a proactive approach where you have to set your own deadlines. You have to just take ownership of each and every task that you pick up and make sure that you complete it. When it's up for review, reach out to your mentors, tell them, I have completed working on the specification file. Please review my work. And you constantly have to keep responding to the feedback and make sure that your tasks get merged according to the deadline that you have set for yourself. The next major difference is networking and community. Corporate organizations are not really community driven, so you don't really get to actively interact with the end user as a developer. So each and everything is conveyed by the project manager. And also, the networking is also there where you get to meet and to get to know your colleagues. However, in open source, it's more community driven, where there's a whole community of people who are supporting a certain tool. So you also get to network with the whole community. You get to work with people from the USA. You get to work with people from different corners of Africa. You get to work with people from Europe, from Asia. So I feel like the networking is more intense or much more effective while working in open source, and there's a supportive and active community supporting each and every tool. Thank you. That is all I had for today. If you have any questions, please don't shy away. Follow me on Twitter at Njeri Codes, or you can also find me on LinkedIn at Florence Njeri. Thank you.